Hello everyone. Welcome to my channel. If you enjoy magazine-style deep dives told in a clear, text-to-speech friendly format, please like this video, subscribe, and tap the join button to support the show. Today we're unpacking one of the most talked about stories in recent weeks, the quiet but seismic shift in the relationship between Mahessine and Cenk. What began as a fairy tale pairing admired by fans and colleagues has moved into a far more complicated chapter, one that includes difficult truths, thoughtful decisions, and the kind of public scrutiny that few couples can truly prepare for. I'll explain what happened, how we got here, what each side is saying, and what it might mean for their futures, personally and professionally. Let's get into it. First, the headline as people understood it: Cenk broke his silence. In carefully chosen words, he acknowledged that he is seeking a divorce, framing the decision not as a dramatic rupture but as the result of long, private conversations and a growing recognition that he is no longer happy in the marriage. He didn't point fingers, he didn't catalog grievances. He used language that suggested respect, gratitude, and exhaustion all at once. That combination, measured but unmistakably honest, was enough to send the internet into a spiral of reactions, interpretations, and theories. Why did this land so heavily? Because the myth around Mahessine and Cenk was built on more than red carpet appearances or glossy interviews. They were seen as the rare duo able to move seamlessly between screen and life, keeping their private world low-key while radiating warmth in public. Directors spoke about their discipline, assistants talked about their kindness to crews, and fans loved the way they elevated each other's work. The image wasn't just perfect couple. It was grown-ups doing the hard work of love. Against that backdrop, any admission of unhappiness felt like a crack in a statue that many assumed was granite. Let's step back and trace the timeline that insiders pieced together. Months before the announcement, both Mahessine and Cenk made subtle changes in how they showed up online. The joint posts slowed. Captions shifted from playful to reflective. When they were asked directly about each other in interviews, the answers became more general, still respectful, but less spontaneous. Around the same time, their calendars diverged. Cenk accepted a series role that required intense overnight shoots. Mahessine pivoted toward a project with international partners, which meant travel, language coaching, and weeks away. None of that is unusual for two working artists. But when you're already carrying quiet strain at home, distance magnifies everything. If you look at the language in Cenk's statement, you can almost hear the rehearsals of 100 private conversations. We tried. We listened. We changed what we could. He didn't say the marriage failed. He said the marriage no longer made him happy, and there is a difference. That phrasing matters because it leaves room for dignity, for him, for Mahessine, and for the years they built together. It also set the tone for how people close to them reacted. Colleagues posted messages that sounded like hugs, fans wrote long notes about boundaries and self-respect. There was disappointment, yes, but also a sense that two adults had refused to pretend for the sake of optics. So where does Mahessine stand? Officially, she has been brief and precise. In a short note released through her team, she chose gratitude over gossip. She thanked supporters for their kindness, asked for privacy, and said she was focusing on work and family while moving through a sensitive period. Those 3 points: thanks, privacy, focus, were not accidental. They told the public, I see your curiosity, I appreciate your love, I am not going to feed the rumor economy. It was a masterclass in protecting one's center. Behind the scenes, you can feel the recalibration. Friends say she has tightened her circle and slowed her calendar just enough to create breathing room while still honoring commitments. That doesn't mean retreat, it means intention. Long days on set are interspersed with quiet evenings. Training sessions have replaced public events. She is doing the ordinary things that keep someone steady when life turns unpredictable: routine, movement, sleep, sunlight. You won't see that in headlines, but you can sense it in how her presence has changed: fewer filters, fewer absolutes, more stillness. Let's talk about the professional ripple effects, because those are real. When a couple is also a brand, every transition invites speculation about scripts and schedules. The good news here is that both Mahessine and Cenk have built reputations that exist independently of their relationship. Producers want them for how they command a frame, not for who they're photographed with. Still, a chapter like this can sharpen performances. Audiences often report that an actor emerges from a personal upheaval with new colors in their work, patience, restraint, a certain gravity. Expect that. Expect characters who sit in silence a beat longer. Expect the kind of choices that say, I know what it costs to stay. I know what it costs to go. Something else worth unpacking is the culture of constant commentary that swirls around couples in the public eye. When two people decide to disentangle a marriage, they become vulnerable not just to sadness but to narratives, from well-meaning strangers, from opportunistic accounts, from outlets that prize speed over care. That's why statements like Cenk's matter. They create a frame. They tell everyone what is and what isn't up for debate. The sentence "I am no longer happy in my marriage" is not a plot twist waiting to be solved, it's a boundary. It doesn't invite us to dig for villains or to audition theories. It invites us to let two people reconfigure their lives with as little collateral damage as possible. Does that mean there are no unanswered questions? Of course not. Viewers wonder about logistics, shared property, shared friends, future collaborations. Those are private matters, and they will be handled where they belong. At tables with counsel, among people who were present for the whole story, not just the public chapter headings. If a joint statement appears in the coming weeks, it will likely mirror the careful tone we've already seen: respect for the past, clarity about the present, and restraint about the future. Something both moving and instructive has emerged from the fan response. Alongside the predictable gossip, there's been a surge of messages from people who recognize themselves in the phrase, "no longer happy." They've written about staying too long to protect an image, about leaving too fast to avoid pain, about the courage it takes to tell the truth when you are known for playing pretend professionally. That is perhaps the quiet legacy of this moment. It normalizes honest endings. It tells people that maturity is not measured by the length of a relationship but by how you treat each other when it changes shape. What happens now? Practically, there are two paths that will likely run parallel for a while. The first is legal, structured, procedural, slow. The second is human, messy, unpredictable, cyclical. You grieve the imagined future, you negotiate the real present, and, if you're lucky, you recover enough of your original kindness to wish each other well. Both Mahessine and Cenk have the temperament to walk those paths with minimal spectacle. They've done it before in miniature, refusing to bicker in public, editing their disclosures, letting their work speak. There's no reason to expect they'll abandon that now. Creatively, this moment can be catalytic. Cenk's next roles may lean into interiority, fewer speeches, more subtext. He has always been at his best when the camera catches him thinking. Expect directors to give him scenes that require exactly that. Mahessine, meanwhile, has a gift for building characters from the outside in, crafting a physical world, then letting the emotion bloom. This period of introspection could deepen that process. She may choose scripts that allow her to explore resilience, reinvention, and the delicate boundary between self-protection and vulnerability. If you're a fan who loved them together, it's natural to mourn the picture you carried in your head. Honor that feeling, and then remember what drew you to them in the first place, not the coupledom, but the craft. The way they made words sound newly minted. The way they turned ordinary blocking into choreography. Those gifts remain. They do not require a shared last name to exist. A word on media literacy before we close. Over the next month, you'll see headlines that will try to convert ambiguity into certainty. Secret reason revealed. Inside source spills. You know the format. Resist the urge to click on every spark. Go where the tone matches the reality, sober, careful, imperfect. Value outlets that cite statements rather than spin them. Celebrate journalism that aims for context rather than conquest. That's how you protect the people whose art you love from becoming content against their will. In the end, this isn't a story about failure. It's a story about alignment. Two people who once promised to walk in sync looked down and realized their steps had changed. Instead of faking the rhythm for an audience, they chose honesty. That's not scandal. That's adulthood. And if there's a thread of hope running through all of this, it's that honesty, once chosen, has a way of turning into freedom for both of them. Thank you so much for watching. If you want follow-ups rooted in verified updates, no noise, no speculation, make sure you're subscribed and your notifications are on. I'll keep you posted as official statements appear and as new projects are confirmed. Until then, take good care, and I'll see you in the next video.